we mentioned that the purer the tefillah is, so it has an impact. It becomes much more beloved to Hashem. And Hashem accepts it, and it goes straight up to the highest places. I wish to recount a recorded, from a very responsible source, a recorded incident that took place. There was a great family in Europe, a great family of rabbis, of scholars. The father was a great scholar. The children all went in the ways of the father, and they were all successful Talmidei Chachamim, great scholars. One of the sons was a young boy by the name of Yitzchak. Yitzchak had tremendous desire to be like his father, to emulate his grandfather, to emulate his brothers, his older brothers. He had a problem. He couldn't concentrate. He had no powers of concentration. He would arrive in the morning to his cheder where he's studying, and he would come keen, and he would come there and sit down, and his mind would begin to wander. Today they may call it some kind of learning disability. Yitzchak couldn't concentrate, and he therefore could never understand things to the proper depth, and he never did very well in all his studies. Yitzchak couldn't understand, not the Chumash, not the Mishnah, not the Gemara, because he couldn't keep his powers of concentration focused. His mind would wander, he would lose the track, he wouldn't be able to follow. People who have the privilege of studying Talmud know that one's mind has got to be completely alert and keen and follow the process, and it's a very, very sophisticated intellectual endeavor studying Torah. And you need to be focused, you need to concentrate. And Yitzchak couldn't concentrate. Today they would give him labels, ADD, ADHD. Yitzchak couldn't concentrate, and it caused him tremendous pain and suffering. And while he saw his brothers just growing in their study of Torah, he was always lagging at the bottom of the class. He was a young boy. To corroborate his problems, his father passed away. So Yitzchak was now a yatom. He was now an orphan. Yitzchak the orphan, a sad young lad who couldn't focus on his studies. Tremendous desire. He was a very pious boy. He kept mitzvahs with great love. His prayers were fantastic. He would pray to Hashem every day, Atah chonen la'adam da'at, you give man the power of knowledge, the power of understanding. Help me. Nothing changed. Then his father died, not too long before his bar mitzvah. It is traditional that on the bar mitzvah, the chatan, bar mitzvah, says a speech. He says some profound Torah thoughts that he's helped in the preparation by his parents, by his teachers. He had no father, but his brothers were scholars, and they prepared a simple drasha for Yitzchak, because Yitzchak couldn't maintain concentration to be able to say over a sophisticated piece of thought. Came the bar mitzvah, even the simple drasha that had been drilled into him by his brothers. He was intimidated by the crowd, even though he had prompting notes. He couldn't get it going. And he lost his train of thought, and he had to be prompted, and it was very, very embarrassing. The Chatan bar mitzvah just was nowhere near the rest of the family. That's how his bar mitzvah, he ended up the night of the bar mitzvah, he went home very sad. He came to the shul, to the synagogue, to daven Ma'ariv, Tfilat Arvit, after the bar mitzvah. And he arrived there, and when no one was looking, as the Tfilat Arvit finished, he slipped under the table, and he hid. The shamash, the person, the beadle in charge of the synagogue, checked up, everything's okay in the synagogue after all the congregants had left, and he started extinguishing the candles. Yitzchak was hiding under the bench. The shamash left, locked the door, And then Yitzchak approached the Aron Kodesh. He opened the Aron Kodesh. And there was such a custom to really pray with depth in front of an open Aron Kodesh. Yitzchak, all alone in the synagogue, opened the Aron Kodesh. And he started praying to Hashem. He was so depressed. He was so down. And he beseeched Hashem. He beseeched him. He prayed to Hashem, please Hashem, give me the ability to concentrate. Give me the powers of thought. Enable me. I want to learn your Torah. It's so dear to me. I feel so bad. I feel such an unsuccessful fellow. Please Hashem, I know that you're the one that grants. And he said it over and over and over. And he cried torrents and rivers of tears. And in the midst he fell asleep. The next morning, the Shamash arrived at the crack of dawn to open the synagogue, and he sees the Aron Kodesh is open. And he walks up to the Aron Kodesh. What happened? And he finds this little boy, this little bar mitzvah boy, Yitzchak, lying asleep in front of the open Aron Kodesh. He wakes him up. He said, what did you do? How dare you stay in the synagogue the whole night? Yitzchak jumped up, apologized, and he ran. He went to the synagogue, prayed, and then he ran off to his cheder, where he hadn't been for several days because he was preparing for the bar mitzvah. And he walked into the class and he sat down, and somehow he felt a different person. The Rebbe started teaching, and Yitzchak's there. He's focusing and concentrating on every word. And Yitzchak's there, and suddenly something didn't sit so well with him. He asked the Rebbe for the first time in his career. He asked the Rebbe a very significant question. And his Rebbe was shocked. The classmates were shocked. Yitzchak. And Yitzchak asked this question. The Rebbe responded something. Yitzchak responded back. And suddenly Yitzchak became a major factor in the conversation. As the class proceeded, so Yitzchak was totally into it, way ahead of all his other fellow students. And the Rebbe was in shock. And here is Yitzchak back and forth, and he's studying, and he's understanding, and he's asking amazing issues and questions and delving into the depth of the issue. That's how the day ended. Yitzchak skipped home, a happy lad. The next day, the same thing, but even more. Yitzchak. Within 2 weeks, Yitzchak's at the top of the class. He is the very, very best. The Rebbe is absolutely in shock. And his whole demeanor has changed. His Rebbe comes to him and says, Yitzchak. He calls him aside. What happened? This change. I've never seen in my entire career such a dramatic change. And Yitzchak says, I'll tell the Rebbe a secret. The night of my bar mitzvah, after I made the shameful appearance where I couldn't get through my bar mitzvah drasha, I went into the synagogue and I cried and cried alone. He told the Rebbe that he hid in the synagogue, and he prayed and cried until he fell asleep. And he said, while I was sleeping, my late father came to me in a dream. And he said, I was allowed to come back to this world in a dream and relate to you, my darling son. And I want to tell you that your prayers have made a tremendous impact. They've stormed the heavens. They've made a tremendous impact on the heavens. And I want to tell you that Hashem said, and I've come to communicate, keep going, my child, because you're going to become a great scholar. And at that point, the Shamash woke me up. Since then, nothing has been in my way. I love every learning. I'm learning everything. I'm totally focused. I'm totally concentrating. Yitzchak became the great Rabbi Yitzchak Kramer. He was one of the greatest scholars a few hundred years ago. He was the Rebbe of the great Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham is the most significant commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. He became his Rebbe. It was all because of Yitzchak's prayer that was Va'ani Tfilati. My whole essence was in my prayer, my real essence. He peeled off everything. The real Yitzchak lay and beseeched Hashem and prayed out and called out to him, and he was responded. Va'ani Tfilati, when it's anib in my prayer, Lecho Hashem eit ratzon, then it's a time of ratzon, it's a time that Hashem will give everything. He gave Yitzchak everything. He became the greatest scholar in his generation.